Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wellness Lifestyle Conference. I'm Gloria Treister, and I will be sharing with you today my Wellness 101 lecture. So, if ever there was a time when making conscious choices for your health mattered, this is it. With everything that's going on with COVID-19 and climate change and our food supply, we really need to be making better decisions about our own health. And I'll be talking to you about that. So the name of my lecture is Wellness 101, a great place to start. And here in the US, 101 is usually your first course, and these are going to be the basics. And I'm Gloria Treister. I'm a board certified holistic health coach and practitioner, a certified corporate wellness specialist. I'm also an advanced physical fitness specialist. I've won several awards, including the Better Business Bureau's Award for Excellence in Consumer Education. I'm a wellness advocate, an influencer, an educator. I love to teach, been around for a while. I'm also the founder of Wellness Evolution here in Cleveland, Ohio, in the States. And I'm a U.S. Ambassador for Global Wellness Day, a delegate and contributing member of the Global Wellness Institute, and I serve on the Wellness at Work Committee. And I'm a wife, mother of 2 amazing daughters, and I have 5 wonderful grandkids. So my goal today is to empower you to become a more informed healthcare consumer and to ask why. A lot of times I hear patients say, well, you ask them, why are you taking that medication? Well, I don't know, my doctor told me. Or why are you having surgery? I'm not sure, but I'm in pain and that's what they told me I had to do. I want to teach you to ask more questions and to feel comfortable doing so. I also want to help update your paradigm about what does it really mean to be well? Is wellness simply the absence of disease, or is it something else? And I also would love to inspire and empower you to be well. So let's start with the premise that most people know what wellness is. They know pretty much how you need to get there. You need to eat well, you need to exercise, you need to manage your stress. I think what's missing in a lot of instances today is the why of wellness. Why do you have to eat well? What does that actually do in your body? What does exercise do? So let's talk about that a little bit. So every single day, you make decisions, right? You decide what you're going to eat. You decide how much you're going to sleep. You decide how you're going to handle stress, how much work you're going to do, and so forth. And so when you're making these decisions, they're either leading you in a direction of good health or poor health. When you're developing disease, you have reduced function. You don't feel so well. You might be taking multiple medications. You may experience low energy. You might also have like a non-active lifestyle and generally a poor quality of life. But when you're developing wellness, you feel good, you're functioning at a high level, you're not taking medications, you may be taking some supplements, but you're eating well generally and exercising. And overall, you have what we call fine-tuned biochemistry. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And then there's the people in the middle, right here. Those are the people I call the fake well. Those people are in a comfort zone. They'll say, well, Gloria, why do I have to eat better? I feel pretty good. Or I don't exercise, but I feel okay. Those are the people who don't understand that health is cumulative. And we're going to talk about that. So let me tell you a little story about a gentleman named Don. He was an athlete in his youth. His life has now become sedentary at the age of 44. He has a desk job. He's under a lot of stress, no time to exercise. And he came into our clinic complaining of back pain. We said, hey, Don, what happened? He said, well, I dropped something on the floor, and when I bent over to pick it up, my back went out. But is that what really happened? Or was it the lifestyle behaviors that led up to that event? For instance, maybe Don didn't have good posture. Maybe at his desk, his chair wasn't at the right height for his computer, or his legs were too long for his chair or too short. These types of things impact you, and it accumulates day over day over day. And so when finally his pencil fell on the floor, whatever he picked up, his back went out. And that's how it is with your health. Now, on this chart, it's showing you the top 10 global causes of death around the world in 2016. And they're what you would expect, right? There's heart disease, there's stroke, there's obstructive pulmonary disease, lower respiratory infections, Alzheimer's, lung cancer and other cancers, diabetes, and so on. And this is what they're telling us is killing us. But is that really what's killing us? Or are the actual causes of death the lifestyle behaviors that lead up to the illnesses that are killing us? Things like diet, smoking, high body mass index, high blood pressure, high sugar levels, low physical activity, and so on and so forth. So let's start not thinking of it as heart disease that's killing us, for instance, but what's leading up to that and how we can change that and how we can empower ourselves to eliminate those chronic illnesses. Now on this slide, it's just a bunch of statistics, but they're interesting. 79% of US adults don't get the recommended amount of daily exercise. 40% of us are not getting enough sleep. And these things affect our ability to have a good quality of life. Many people in the United States and around the world are obese or overweight. And those things, and along with chronic stress and other factors, will put us in that category where we're building up and building up and building up until one day our bodies just can't take it anymore and we have an event. So to summarize that part, we spend the first half of our lives in the pursuit of money at the expense of our health. We work. We're running, trying to live a certain lifestyle. But then we spend the second half of our life spending that money to try to regain our health. And this is not an effective strategy, and it's one that we all really would like to avoid. So what is wellness? In my view, wellness is all-encompassing. It's a holistic approach. It's considering you as a whole person. It's more than just physical fitness. It's more than just nutrition, and it's more than taking a pill or a vitamin. It takes into account everything about you, including the physical well-being and your nutrition, but it also takes into account your ability to manage stress. Are you happy? Do you have a sense of purpose in your life? How are your finances? Are they okay? What about your spirituality, your community, and your family? All of these things go into what makes you you and what makes you either a healthier you or a not so healthy you. And we'll talk about that. Our current medical strategy is to wait for the health risks and then treat it. So in other words, wait for defects, then fix the defects. But if that was the strategy in your business, how would that work for you? If you were the manufacturer of airplane parts and you said, well, we don't really care about quality control, we'll just manufacture the planes, and when one of them falls out of the sky and crashes, we'll figure out what happened. That's not a good strategy in business, and it's not a good strategy for you. So here are some of the lifestyle and environmental things that impact your ability to be well. For instance, your diet, we talked about that. When you have excess of portions, sugar, unhealthy fats, processed foods, acidic foods, you may wind up getting sick. If you have a deficiency in the nutrients you need and the healthy fats you need and the water you need and so forth, that also impacts your body and your ability to live a quality life. And then there's environmental toxins. It's no longer a question of whether or not you're toxic. The question today is, how toxic are you? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you managing your stress? If you're not, these things all add up and they become risk factors, which add up and those become chronic illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, obesity, depression, mind and mood things, digestion, and now we're all dealing with COVID-19. So what I want you to do is build a solid foundation of health and get to the root cause of any problems you're having and fix it at the root. What this looks like is a tree with these circles on it. And if you consider all of healthcare as a tree, the trunk of the tree is your primary care medicine. That's where you go for your checkups every year. If you have an ear infection, you might go and get an antibiotic. But for the most part, it's just these other diseases that are making our lives less quality, having less quality. Things like allergies and digestion, just like we talked, neurological, bone and joint pain, inflammation, which is the root of all disease, obesity, immune disorders, and cancer. How do you fix it? You get down to the root, down here. So we're going to talk about food, your genetics, exercise, neurotransmitters, sleep, stress, hormones, toxins, and your age. So today, if you only take one thing, actually two, away from my talk, I want you to know that you are biochemically unique. There's absolutely no one else like you on the planet. And it's very important to honor your uniqueness. Even if you have an identical twin, they are not identically the same as you biochemically due to environmental factors. So some things that are very important for you to know about yourself are your basic lab markers, your body mass index, and your levels of inflammation. And this has become more and more important, and it's something that isn't generally measured, but things like C-reactive protein and homocysteine and myeloperoxidase, these are things that I can get into at greater depth in a different time when I have more time to talk to you about different aspects of this, but inflammation is very key and very important for you to know. Your nutrients. It's not just the food tastes good, it's what's in it that's going to help you live your best life. And how are your hormones doing? We all have hormones. When they get out of balance, various issues crop up, and these are things we're going to talk about. Same with brain chemistry, your genetic makeup, any allergies and sensitivities you may have, and once again, toxic overload. The other thing I want you to know is that your genes are modifiable. Our genes are profoundly influenced by the lifestyle choices that we make. We call it genetic expression, and our lifestyle is highly impactful of the diseases we experience. More than 80% of your genetics are modifiable through lifestyle. There's even a new field in science, relatively new, called epigenetics. And this studies how our genes are either turned on or turned off by our lifestyle. So what's driving your risk? And we'll go through all of these sections a little bit at a time as we move forward in my talk. But the one thing I want you to know is that when you're looking to care for yourself, consider that a one-size-fits-one strategy is what's going to help you win over time. And when you measure these various markers, you can see if you're getting better or getting worse. So let's start with nutrition. I want you to consider eating like your life depends on it, because it does. Evidence confirms that nutrient deficiencies suppress immune function, which is super important. It affects your mood and your brain health, and it prevents normal healing. I want you to consider eating organic food whenever you possibly can, and avoid GMOs, which are genetically modified organisms. These are plants that are genetically messed with in order for them to withstand being sprayed with weed killers like glyphosate. And so when you're eating these foods, you're also eating a poison. So we talked about the toxic overload. That's where some of it comes from. When you're eating organic, hopefully you're not getting much of that, although it's very pervasive in our environment. The other thing I think that's really important is for you to eat local. food travels long distances, and during that time, you're losing nutrients as it goes along the way and gets older and older. We'll talk about that a little. And I'd love to encourage you to cut out sugar, gluten, and dairy. I've never heard of anyone who has a gluten deficiency. You don't need it. It makes a lot of people sick. And so one of those things that really, if you can do without it, do without it. And also it's important to know that some prescription drugs deplete nutrition. Think of food this way. Instead of thinking about what tastes good, what you love to eat, think about food as communication. This is how your cells talk to one another and do different bodily functions. If you're not giving them what they need to do the best job for you, you aren't going to feel good. It's that simple. And healthy food does taste great. So the typical modern diet, at least here in the US and I'm sure in some other countries, contains highly processed packaged foods, and those have minimal nutritional value. In some cases, they have negative nutritional value. And most fruits and vegetables are lacking the essential minerals that are required for human health due to depletion in the soil. Industrial farming makes it so that the soil doesn't have time to rest in between planting. And that's where you get the minerals and the nutrients that go into the plant that you wind up eating. Extensive storage time and travel from the source also depletes nutrition. In some cases, fruits and vegetables are picked before they're actually ripe and then shipped to wherever they're going and gassed to make them artificially ripen. That's why I said earlier, trying to eat as much organic as you can is super important. And again, avoid the GMOs. The other thing is, people who are on pharmaceutical medications need to understand that many of these drugs deplete nutrients from your body. They either deplete them or they block the absorption of these nutrients. And a lot of them turn into bothersome side effects or symptoms such as fatigue or stomach upset, to serious ones like muscle or nerve damage. If you email me, and I'll put up my email address at the end, and it's back here on the board if you can see it, but I can send you a list of all of the drugs by name and what nutrients they deplete from your body. It's super important for you to know that if you're taking any pharmaceutical medications. I threw this slide in. It's really part of my COVID talk, but I did want you to understand that foods can optimize your immune system. And right now, we really need our immune system to be functioning optimally. So we want to balance our food nutrient and density. We want to skip the processed foods. We want to opt for organic whenever possible. Make sure you're getting healthy fats and also cooking with things like olive oil or avocado oil instead of butter. You can use ghee, but try to use olive or avocado oil. Make sure you're getting your omega-3s. They help reduce chronic inflammation. If you're going to eat meat, make it lean and limit the amount. Protein plays a vital role in healing and recovery, but that can be from plants as well as poultry and seafood. And remember to use plant-based proteins like beans, lentils, and tofu. I have a whole lecture on the immune system that I'd love to share with you. So let me know if you're interested in hearing more about that. Now, when it comes to your micronutrients, those can be tested. There are lab tests where they draw your blood, they spin it down, and they look at a 6-month look back of what nutrients you have in your body. This is great because it can provide you with a very specific, targeted supplementation regimen, or it can help you regulate your nutrition through your diet. So if that's available where you live, look into it. Here in the US, we like to use a lab in Houston, Texas called SpectraCell, where they can actually tell you all of your nutrients, if you're deficient, how deficient you are. It also looks at your immune function and other markers that can really help you be strategic about your nutrition. So what we want to do is identify any nutrient deficiencies we have, change your diet as much as possible, and if you need to supplement, make sure that the person who's recommending your supplements knows what they're talking about and also can provide you with pharmaceutical grade supplements. The thing to know is that when you're getting a supplement, it's made out of plants also. That's where they source the materials. That's where they get the nutrition. It's either minerals or plants. And so what you want to know is, where was it grown? How is it grown? Is it organic? These things are very important. And is the manufacturing company following good manufacturing practices? This is very important. It's something you can find out online, or I can help you with that as well. So let's talk a little bit about the brain, right? There are all kinds of things going on in our heads. Many people are depressed. Some people are over anxious. Some people can't sleep. These are all things that are determined by whether or not you have a balance of calming neurotransmitters versus excitatory neurotransmitters. We have both in our body. So think about the ones on this list that you might be familiar with. For instance, dopamine. Dopamine is an excitatory nutrient. When you exercise, you feel great. That's because exercise helps your body produce the brain chemical dopamine. When you want to go to sleep, you might be interested in knowing that you have the right amount of serotonin, which is a calming neurotransmitter. So if you have too many excitatory and not enough calming, you may suffer from insomnia. You may have ADHD. You may not be able to focus. And on the reverse side, if you have too much of calming, you might be tired all the time. So these are things for you to consider. And I want you to understand that rather than taking a pill when you have some of these problems, which right here I'll show you, you can do something about it, because your gut is your second brain. What you put in your gut, nutrition-wise, isn't just important for your weight or your energy, it impacts your whole body, and your gut is very, very important for your brain health. So if you're suffering from any of the problems that I've listed on this slide, attention issues, anxiousness, weight control, depression, fatigue, headaches, low libido, low mood, sleep difficulties, inability to manage stress. Some people are wired and tired at night. They want to go to bed, but their brain won't shut off. These are all things that are controlled by your neurotransmitters. And these are things that can be tested for. You can find out what's out of balance, and you can replete that with either what you eat or what you take in the form of a supplement. So inflammation. Inflammation is the root of all chronic disease. We talked about that earlier. This is an example of a lab test that shows what's in range and out of range. There are different types of inflammation. For instance, this is tough to pronounce, but myeloperoxidase is vascular inflammation outside of the artery wall. So sometimes when that gets inflamed, it might close down your arteries and cause a heart attack or a stroke. Vascular inflammation inside the artery wall also makes a problem, because if you've already got sticky, cholesterol in there and it is inflamed, it may cause that to either break apart and cause a stroke or shut it down altogether. So make sure that you're eating an anti-inflammatory diet as opposed to a pro-inflammatory diet. You can find information about that on the internet. And also, just kind of make sure that you're keeping all of these things in check and keeping track of what your numbers look like. Know your numbers. Because what your body really is looking for is balance. There's a medical term for that. It's called homeostasis. And what you want to do is make sure that everything is balanced. So speaking of balance, let's talk about hormones. We all have hormones and we age because our hormone levels decline. This is important because who wants to get older before you need to? You can lead a very healthy life for a long time. Take a look at this chart and see if any of these symptoms are things that you are experiencing. Things like weight gain, bone loss, acne, thinning skin. These things are identifiable through hormone testing, and they generally indicate a basic female hormone imbalance. If you have a thyroid imbalance, you might have things like thinning hair, brittle nails. You might be experiencing anxiety. You might have cold hands and feet, low libido. These are indications that your body is talking to you. You need to listen to your body and go, oh my gosh, is that a hormone imbalance? And then go find a doctor that knows about hormones. Do not go to someone who is not trained in understanding hormones from a functional medicine perspective, because what will happen is they will tell you that you're within normal range for someone your age. But do you want to be within normal range of someone your age? Or maybe when you were in your 30s or younger, when you felt great? You want to have young hormones, and that's very important. If you're feeling nervous, if you're starting to get autoimmune disease or sweating a lot or having heart palpitations, you might have an adrenal hormone imbalance, and that can come from a lot of stress as well. And let's not leave the guys out. Men go through menopause just like women do. They call it andropause, and they may have decreased muscle strength, decreased stamina. Many men experience decreased urine flow, and that's very upsetting. Erectile dysfunction, increased abdominal fat. So these are some of the things to look for. And if you're a male and you have some of these issues, go get your hormones checked. Now, this is what a hormone test would look like. I'm just showing you that. And depending on the type of imbalance, you need a proper diagnosis and the best treatment to treat it. I believe in bioidentical hormones. I think some of the other hormones that are manufactured that are not bioidentical means that they are made to exactly mimic what your body makes. Otherwise, you're taking something that is not known to the body, and it might not be as effective, and you might get undesirable side effects from that as well. Another thing to be aware of that I really want to bring up to you today is, are the foods you're eating making you sick? You would be surprised at how many people are sick and go undiagnosed. Their doctors can't figure out what's wrong with them. Sometimes they'll say it's all in your head. There's nothing wrong with you. But the thing to understand here is that there's different types of food allergies. So if you look at the immune response food allergies, there's immediate reactions, like people who are allergic to peanuts, for instance. They eat a peanut, they go into anaphylactic shock. If they don't have an EpiPen, they need to go to the hospital. If they don't make it in time, they can actually die. That's one type of food allergy. But the one that's lesser known are the non-immediate food allergies or intolerances. These are foods that you eat now, and you may not see a reaction from that food for hours or even days. These are things you need to understand because they can very seriously impact your life. And there's a lot of things that bother people. I mentioned earlier, gluten, dairy. These are things that so many people have insensitivities to, intolerances for. And if you just know that, you'll know what you can and can't eat, and you'll know what to avoid. When you have a food insensitivity or intolerance, you can still eat some of these foods, but you wouldn't want to do it all the time. But just know that if you do and you don't feel well, you can connect it to what it is. So something to think about. This is just a little snippet of what a lab result would look like. They're very easy to read. This is one company I like to use here in the US. There are others. It's super simple to do this test. You can do it in your own home. You prick your finger, put drops of blood on a little card, you let it dry, and you mail it to the lab, and you can test up to 208 different foods. You can test spices and herbs. So if you're not feeling well and no one's been able to figure out what's going on with you, consider having a food allergy test and finding out if maybe you have sensitivities. You can also, with this particular lab and others, test for environmental toxins, things that are in the air, mold, pollen, all different types of toxins. You can test for those as well. And they're very interrelated because during certain seasons of the year, the foods that make you sick can also exacerbate your environmental toxins and vice versa. Very interesting. So let me tell you a little story about a gentleman who came into my clinic. His name is Steve. He came in, he was on 9 pharmaceutical medications, and pretty much just in plain English, Steve felt like crap. And so our doctor sat down with him and did a reverse history. So when did you start taking this drug and why? And then back. When did you start taking this one and why? When did you start taking this one and why? And what we found was that over 3 years, he had gotten more than 7 medications. It all started when Steve had reflux, and he was given Nexium, the purple pill. 2 weeks later, his sinuses became congested. And he went back to the doctor and said, oh my God, my sinuses are so congested, I don't know what to do. And they put him on drug number 2, not realizing that a high number of people who take Nexium have sinus congestion as a side effect. So here we go, we're getting drug number 2 to treat a side effect. Over the next 3 years, they just kept adding, he just felt worse and worse and worse. We did a food allergy test on him, and guess what? He was allergic to 1 food, and 1 food only. He had read an article prior to him getting reflux about how healthy blueberries were. So he started eating blueberries every day, and that developed reflux. No one had checked for this. And so we were able to help him. He stopped eating blueberries, and he was able to get off of his medications one by one. He didn't need any of them. So it's just a way for you to understand that sometimes getting treated isn't necessarily getting better, but getting to the root cause of the problem is what's going to help you get a one-size-fits-one strategy that's just for you. Detoxification. I mentioned earlier, it's not a matter of whether or not you're toxic. You are. It's a matter of how toxic are you. And it's a good idea to detox every couple of months. I tell people to do it when the seasons change. But if you're having health issues such as headaches, fatigue, nausea, chronic diseases, excess body fat, you know, toxins hold on to fat and fat holds on to toxins. So you get into a vicious circle. And skin problems. There's so many issues that have to do with toxicity in the body. And so you can test for it. You can find out what your toxic overload is from, and you can clear it out of your body. Another thing that you can do is find out about heavy metals in the body. And you might think, well, where am I going to get heavy metals? But if you're using regular deodorant, there's aluminum in there. If you're eating out of cans, you're getting aluminum. If you're eating a lot of fish, you're getting mercury. There are ways to test for this. For those, you use a piece of hair that gets sent to a lab. They come back, they tell you. I recently did that, and I was off the chart toxic in lead. I have no idea, but I grew up in a time where there was lead paint. There's lead in lipstick. So that's a key indicator to find yourself non-toxic personal care products. A lot of the stuff we put on our bodies, in our mouths, toothpaste, all kinds, shampoo, all kinds of things have toxic chemicals in there. Get acquainted with them and get them out of your life. I can help you with that as well. Be happy to share information with you. So here's a woman who came to a lecture, learned a lot about some of these issues. She had joint pain, skin rashes, mood swings. She was always tired. She couldn't lose weight. And so she did a little research as a result of learning from us and discovered that Candida was something, or some people pronounce it Candida. Um, People have a yeast overgrowth in their body, which is also toxic. And so you can cleanse yourself of that. She did that in 1 month. It was like night and day. She said it was that simple. All of these symptoms went away. Another thing just for you to understand too, is there's some validity to eating right for your blood type. If you're doing everything right and you still are not feeling great, consider doing a little research on what you should be eating for your blood type. Your blood type has a lot to do with your ancestors and what they ate. So, check it out. It's something to consider, and it's easy to find out. So some of the things you might want to incorporate into your life are things like acupuncture, body work, energy medicine. These are things that can help you as well. They're great, they're non-toxic, and they're really good for your body and your soul. Body work is not just spa, feel good kind of stuff. It actually has good medical benefits. It can calm your nervous system. It aligns your energy flow. It encourages your metabolism. It can increase your circulation. It can lower your blood pressure and your pulse rate. It can reduce pain and swelling, and it also is a mood enhancer by increasing endorphins, which make you feel good. Exercise, very important. There's all kinds of exercise. You don't have to belong to a gym. You can exercise at home. You can get a little piece of TheraBand, body band that costs $3, and you can do exercises at home with that. I always like to say the best exercise is the one that you will do. So try a bunch of different things. If you're not exercising now, start slow. Baby steps are fine. Walking is free. There's all kinds of things that you can do to make yourself feel better. But whatever you do, just do it, because it's very important for your health. And smart supplementation. Know what you're deficient in and know what you need. And like I said earlier, you can test for that. You can consult with someone on that, but make sure when you're supplementing, it's smart supplementation. You're not taking a bunch of stuff that you don't know what it is, or you go to the store and some, well-meaning clerk says, take this, take this, take this, but maybe that's not what you need. So make sure you find out what you need and take what you need. During the winter months here in the States, people are deficient in vitamin D. That's super important for all kinds of bodily functions and very essential to keeping your immune system fine-tuned. Very important. Stress is something that affects us all. Some people manage it better than others, but trust me, there are consequences to too much stress. Sources of chronic stress can be exposure to heavy metals and other toxins. It can be physical, it can be nutritional, it can be a lack of sleep, it can be anger, it can be worry. These things all are sources of chronic stress. And if you take a look at what types of diseases you can get from too much stress, it's very compelling. So find a way to manage your stress. If you're not meditating, you can try meditation. There's all kinds of ways to manage stress. You could do yoga. Find something that works for you. Breathing exercises, regular exercise, proper nutrition, self-hypnosis. Time management is important. If you're not managing your time well, it's going to stress you out. These are all things that can help you deal with stress. And education is super important. Make sure that you're learning what you need to know about how to take care of you. This is the cover of my book, Wellness 101, A Guide to Healthy Living, and it gives you the basics on what to eat, how to handle stress, where the toxic chemicals are in the environment, all kinds of things that can help improve your life in a very basic book. that gives you everything you need to know and not a little bit more. There's too much information on the internet. There's a lot of conflicting information on the internet. Find a reliable source for yourself and go for it. And make sure that you're getting all the information that you need to lead your best life and to help your family do the same. So I'll tell you a little story about education. This is an empowerment story, and this is a guy named Denny. He attended a class. He had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. He wasn't managing it very well. He learned what he needed to do to manage it, and he started doing it, and he felt pretty good. And then, like the rest of us, he got kind of lazy. He kind of slacked off. When he was eating great, that was good, but then now he started incorporating more sugar and unhealthy foods and wasn't managing stress and just really did not do a good job of going forward and continuing on with his program. He went to his doctor a year later. His markers were all measured and they had all gotten worse. And his doctor said, Denny, I got to put you on some medication. And he said, you know what, doc, forget that. I don't want to be on medication. I know what to do for myself. I'm not going to take any medication. I'm going to go back to what I was doing before. And the doctor said, well, I'll give you 3 months. Come back in 3 months. Do what you said you're going to do. But if you're not under control in 3 months, I'm going to have you take a medication. And that's exactly what he did. And 3 months later, he got all his numbers back where they had to be. Prevention is key, and education and knowledge helps you know what interventions you need and what you don't need, and you can reduce potential pain and suffering. Another thing to do for yourself is to maybe get an app, something that will help you monitor what you're eating, what your exercise is, what your weight is, what your body mass index is, and you can do it yourself. So here's one, Get Well with Us, getwell@bodysite.com is my site. You can email me, I can sign you up for free, and you can use this app. And there's recipes in here, there's fast food in here, there's all kinds of things in here with all the nutritional values already in it. All you have to do is check off what you ate and keep track, and it will tell you how you're doing and if you're getting the right mix of foods. Are you getting enough carb, protein, and fat in the right amounts? Having something like that keeps you more accountable, and it will help you stay well. These are my online stores for supplements. And for my clients, they receive a 15% discount on all the top quality supplements and also get a free smart supplementation review. If you're already taking supplements, I'd be happy to go over them with you to see what you're taking and if it's right for you. And also I can help make recommendations for you. So my takeaway points today are: consider wellness as an investment rather than a cost. All of these things cost something other than, eating better and exercising at home and things like that. But most of the time there's a nominal cost at least. But consider that as an investment in yourself. Be proactive, prevent illness, promote natural healing. And remember, there's no one else like you. You are biochemically unique, and you need a one-size-fits-one approach. Disease states are cumulative, just like the gentleman at the very beginning. Things don't just happen. You don't just have a heart attack. It's the lifestyle behaviors that lead up to the chronic diseases that will kill you, that will make you sick, that will impede having a good quality of life. And always remember to get to the root cause and apply the least invasive therapy first. If you remember that tree and all of those diseases up there, when you go to specialists, and that's what that was suggesting, all they really have for you are drugs or surgery. Don't do that unless you have to. See what you can do first that you have control over, and keep that control as long as you can. Education is key, and wellness is easy, people. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. Make wellness a priority in your life. So when we started out today, I said my goal was to empower you to become a more informed healthcare consumer and to ask why. I said I wanted to update your paradigm about what it means to be well and to inspire and empower you to take better care of yourself. And I hope you feel that I've accomplished that today. So to find out more, please get in touch with me. Once again, I'm Gloria Treister. That's my phone number. My company is Wellness Evolution, and my email address is gbtwellness@gmail.com. Those are my initials, gbtwellness@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the conference for inviting me to be a speaker. I'm very appreciative. I hope you all are inspired to go forward and take better care of yourself and your loved ones. Have a great day. Thank you.